Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever you are joining us today. Safety Beyond Compliance is back after a couple of weeks. And this is the podcast that we talk about safety in a different way. We're not here to talk about compliance and that kind of stuff. We are here to talk about safety innovations and other things related. I'm calling today from Brazil, and my special guest is calling today from Cyprus. So we are going global by all means. So thanks again for joining us today. And I would like to just invite you to scan the QR code and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's something very quick for you, but it means a lot for us. So we help the podcast and the YouTube channel keep going. So today, as I said, very special guest. I've been willing to talk to him for a couple of weeks, and we finally will make it happen. So my special guest today is someone who is disrupting the safety tech industry with wearables. He's going to unpack what wearables are, everything behind the tech, and his entrepreneurial journey. Very, very interesting conversation for you all. Um, but before getting the guests in front of you, just like to talk about him. He started his career a long time ago as a TV extra. So if you probably watch it, The Crown, Sex Education, and Bridgerton on Netflix, you will probably recognize him. And after that, he started and founded some interesting businesses. For example, Wake or Donate, a marketing agency called Social and Search, and then another charity called Gym or Donate, which I'm very keen to know more about. And then finally, after a trip to Indonesia, he founded a company called Submerged Wallets. And finally, he started Spacebands maybe 5 years ago. Okay, so let's welcome to the screen my special guest today, Ronan Finnegan. Hi, Ronan. How are you doing?
Hello, very good. Thank you very much for the introduction. How are you?
Were you expecting the touch about your career in the entertainment industry or not?
No, not at all. That one would be somewhere in the depths of a LinkedIn post.
Yes, I carefully went through your LinkedIn profile, trying to understand more about your career so far. But anyway, Ronan, thanks a lot for coming to the show today. It means a lot for us and for people that are really keen to understand more about not only your career, what you're creating, but also how to make safety safer and also smarter. And to get started, I would like you to please talk about your background up to the point you started Spacebands.
Sure, by all means. So I have never really had a job, I guess. I left
Are you
school.
unemployable?
I'm unemployable. Yeah, you could say that. So I started my journey in business at 17 with the mobile app that you mentioned there, Wake or Donate. So it's an alarm clock app that when you press snooze, you give money to charity. So with that first app, I launched it onto the App Store. I crowdfunded the idea and hired a few developers. I then kind of very fortunately, the app headed in the right direction quite quickly. So I was picked up by national media in BBC News, Sky News. I was invited by TED to do a TED talk.
Wow.
And I won several entrepreneur awards at 18, which was very fortunate. It was kind of right place, right time. And inevitably the idea was novel. So it was not necessarily about my execution in the business, but more that probably the idea was good, but whatever.
Absolutely.
But that gave me a confidence at a young age that if I had an idea, I could go and build it. So I have since then had, you mentioned 5, but I've probably had closer to 10 businesses now where I have said I'd found a problem, I've tried to fix it, I've built the business up, made the product, made the service, made the utility, and then, yeah, up until now. And
it's working,
now,
right? That's amazing, Ronan. So I noticed that you launched Spacebands around 5 years ago.
years ago.
Yeah, and what caught my attention was that you did it just at the beginning of the pandemic, right? Was it a coincidence, or you decided to do it on a strategic move? You realized there was an opportunity or something that really pushed you to that direction?
Yeah, great question. You've really done your research here. So yeah, it's not a coincidence. So Spacebands in its original form was a contact tracing wearables business. So we founded the business to create a device that would beep and vibrate when two people broke social distancing rules. It was a COVID-19 product. So in our first year of business, myself and co-founder and childhood friend, Harry, founded the business and sold to over 1,000 businesses. We sold 20,000 devices in our first year, working out of a spare bedroom. So the product was just there to keep people safe. And then inevitably, at some stage, we had to pivot the business because it was so COVID-19 dependent. And being candid, at some point in time, it felt quite ironic for us to be selling a COVID-19 product whilst we were starting to return to our normal lives, but yet still advertising this COVID product. So myself and Harry sat down and just said, look, this isn't what we want to do. We don't just want to keep selling a COVID product until there's no countries left that have COVID issues. Instead, we want to pivot. So we turned to the customer base of that first product. And fortunately, because we were such a small team, we had quite a good discourse and conversation with our customers. So they were able to be very transparent in what they liked about the product, what they didn't like about the product, what they wanted to see in new features, what they wanted to see in new hazard protection, all of this sort of stuff. So we started having those conversations in November of 2021 to say, look, we're not going to be a COVID-19 business anymore. What do you want? And those customers were largely health and safety managers. So from there, they told us that traditionally health and safety technology is very single feature focused. So with that, it's hard to detect one trend against another, because if you use a device that's using loud noise monitoring, and then you use a device that's hand-arm vibration tracking, and then you use a device that's for proximity, and then you use another device for temperature, another device for gas, another device, it all gets very convoluted, and it's hard to see which data point you actually need to pay attention to. So first and foremost, we were told that our original customers wanted us to build a device that did a lot. It didn't just cover one feature at a very, very high cost. So that was primary. Second to that was we wanted to make an affordable piece of technology, and Spacebands is the most affordable wearable on the market. So, and we've done that because we listened to the voices of our customers and they wanted us to build an affordable piece of technology. So we did exactly that. And thirdly, we were told that often technology for health and safety in particular isn't built with the end user in mind. It doesn't protect the end user's privacy, and it doesn't look at their user experience as a laborer on a construction site or a worker in a factory. Instead, it's built by a health and safety manager, largely in health and safety, for a health and safety manager, but not thinking about the person who's actually going to wear that piece of tech.
Yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is, so we built the technology with that person in mind, and we made sure the device didn't overstep the mark for privacy. So we didn't include a GPS tracker in the device, so we couldn't check where that individual was and where they were stepping, and therefore they could be scolded for going to the toilet for too long or going for a smoking break when they shouldn't be. Instead, we just built a device that is just there to keep them safe. And it all stems from the fact that started with those original conversations.
That's really cool, really cool. And then I'm impressed by the agility for you to understand what the problem was, and then build the products around the problem and solve the problem, and then pivot into something else and still have like momentum to keep developing the product. That's simply amazing. And I guess that's one of the most important skills for entrepreneurs, to iterate and continue to develop, and still serving the market, so you stay relevant and you still make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, that's especially if you're a small team, you have the ability to do that. If you're a larger technology provider, it's hard to be nimble and agile and listen to feedback and truly implement it. But this is the one thing that Spacebands as a business does phenomenally. I mean, we do a lot of things well, but this is one thing that I think we really do well, is when people start using our product, we listen to their feedback, and we truly listen to their feedback. So if they say, look, this feature's not quite working, or hey, this bit of the dashboard doesn't quite make sense, we change it. So everything's very dynamic. We're very nimble on our feet, and we can make changes to make the product better. And for that reason, we have kind of the customers that we do, I guess.
That's amazing. And I guess you are working with customers from all over the globe, in industries like construction, manufacturing. What else?
Yeah, exactly. So our primary audience here are manufacturing and construction sites. The product also has utility in logistics, in the energy sector, but primarily we're working with construction and manufacturing companies. So to paint a little picture there, we're working with 5 of the largest construction companies in the UK, like 5 of the top 5.
That's really interesting. And let's talk now about the tech behind the gadget, behind the device, right? So you pretty much explain how it started, but now I think that the audience wants to hear about what a wearable device is and what technology is behind the physical device, the watch, for example. Can you please walk us through about the technology aspects of the product?
Yeah, by all means. So our product is a wrist-worn wearable that offers protection to the end user, primarily against loud noise, hand-on vibration, and certain proximity events. Those proximity events are the likes of a warning when you've entered an unauthorized access zone, or a reminder to wear PPE in a particular part of a site, or a reminder to check that you have the right certifications to be in a certain zone. So for example, if you're stepping into a forklift, you check that you are the forklift driver and therefore you have the ability to wear to be in this space. So
that's really cool. So what you're saying is that the device can also integrate or connect with other devices through, let's say, Internet of Things sensors, and then it acknowledge that you have the license to operate a forklift, for example. Hence, the forklift can be operated. Otherwise, it will not be turned on. Is pretty much what you're saying.
More or less. So
okay.
You're on the right lines, but slight difference in that we can't control whether or not the forklift is turned on, but we can control whether or not the device is beeping once it enters a certain zone. So to utilize our proximity-based features, we use a third device that we created called a beacon. So this beacon is placed on the top of a forklift or placed in the doorway of a site or a server room. And this beacon will send an outbound signal within a customizable radius. Maybe it's 3 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, 15 meters. And any device wearable, Spacebands wearable, that enters that zone will be alerted to say, hey, look, you've just entered this zone. So that could be, hey, you've entered the zone where you need to put your hard hat on to arrive on the construction site. Or it may be the zone that you need the certificate to be inside of a forklift. Or it may be you need the authorization that you are the manager and therefore you can enter the server room, or that you can enter the store cupboard, whatever it might be. Different businesses have different reasons. But the primary factor for this product, as I've alluded to before, is loud noise monitoring and hand-on vibration monitoring, because these are issues that individuals have exposure over time, not just independent events. So it's critical that you track the exposure over time of these hazards for individuals, rather than looking historically or waiting for an accident to happen and therefore being liable to investigation, litigation, fines, false liability claims. Technology can offer protection against all of that, whilst inevitably saving lives, protecting injuries and accidents and damages that could have been avoided.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you just spend £1 a day with technology like ours.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that SafetyTech is really, gaining momentum, and it will continue to be. Just talk about something about the statistics right now. So the UK construction sector remains the most fatal across all sectors in the UK economy. Just last year, 35 people got killed, 33 million working hours were lost, and the economic impact of these fatalities is around 21 billion pounds. And I'm I'm a believer that technology must play a role to create safer and, let's say, smarter and more connected and ultimately more human workplace. And I'm always happy to see and to learn more about those technologies like Spacebands, because for me, that's the future. And this future is happening right now. So great that you're addressing a real problem there, Ronan. And you mentioned a lot about data, and there is a say about something like data is the new oil, right? So data is everywhere. It's like a flowing from and to devices all the time. So I'd like to know about what kind of data does your wearable device capture?
So our wearable device is always seeking hazards. So 24/7, once it's being worn, the device is looking around it to see if with loud noise, you enter a zone over a certain threshold. So maybe 85 decibels, where everything is set to HSE guidance, but you can customize the thresholds. But hypothetically, in this example, when the device reaches 85 decibels, our spaceband will beep and vibrate and alert the user that they've entered a loud noise zone. So with this, they would put their PPE on, or with this, they would step back into a safe area. That data is then stored on the device. And when the device next goes on charge, we send that data up into the dashboard. Now, similarly with hand-on vibration, we track hand-on vibration across various exposure levels. So we can monitor automatically ELVs and EAVs, meaning that you're not making guesswork about what the exposure is of a particular tool, or whether or not an individual has been performing a task for 4 hours, 5 hours, or 15 minutes. We do this all automatically so that health and safety manager doesn't have to spend hours going through reports that inevitably aren't accurate because they're always just going to be best guesses. And with stuff like the tenure of tools having an impact on the vibration severity, you may well start using a tool that you believe is a high frequency tool. But because it's been used for so many years, it's nowhere near the guidance on the manufacturing packet. Instead, by using technology like us, we can actually track the true exposure and therefore limit the risks and limit the likes of hearing loss, limit the likes of white finger, arthritis, and other issues that will happen through exposure over time to these hazards. So the way that we capture this data, as I've alluded to, is on the sensors in the device. When devices go on charge, they send data up into our dashboard, and our dashboard is free to use, very intuitive, and will automatically pull these reports for the health and safety manager. And we will send an email directly to the health and safety manager's inbox when an ELV has been hit or when an EAV has been hit. So the health and safety manager can immediately go, okay, Darren has hit his EAV today. I'm going to have a discussion with Darren in the morning, and I'm going to job share that task.
Yeah.
Same rule applies with hearing loss. Same rule applies with machine-to-person proximity or unauthorized access zones. You can start using data to inform decisions about training, to inform decisions about toolbox talks, to inform decisions about job sharing. It's critical.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's the direction. And a lot has been said recently about predictive analytics. And I think that, having the right data and also refining the data. I said that the data is the new oil, and oil is more valuable when it's refined, right? Similar to data, the data also needs to be refined so we can make like informed decisions. So by the look of what you're saying, I believe that this technology plus other technologies that can be used on site, let's say computer vision, can create like the right environment, allowing the safety manager to really work proactively and start predicting, events or hazard spots, areas that are, in need for more attention and early intervention. Not like Mickey the magician, but also like someone who has the data and the power, not for magic, but to change the course of things when they are not heading to the right direction.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So data is critical because without data, you have to really wait for a severe event to happen before having an impact. So you have to wait for a hearing loss claim to come in, or you have to wait for someone to come in with a false liability claim or a genuine liability claim for you to go and have a proper look at that particular hazard. But by using data, you can make informed decisions that can be reactive to a dynamic work environment rather than waiting for those big events that inevitably, in lots of companies, will cost you your job. If you have a severe case coming up for an injury, an accident, a claim, at the end of the day, as a health and safety manager, you're largely liable for that. Maybe not financially liable, but your job is at stake if you miss these big events. And by using technology, you don't miss these big events because we remove any guesswork. We give you actual data. We give you insights and nudges to tell you, hey, you need to be making a step now to prevent this from reoccurring.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise, that step is going to happen 100 times Then you're going to get a severe event cut to show up. And now, all of a sudden, you're in a meeting where your job is at risk as a health and safety manager or operations team.
I couldn't agree more, Ron. I think that's for many years, we safety leaders we have used the famous bird pyramids and have focused on the lag indicators on the top of the pyramids. I'm not a big fan of this model. Just would like to say that. But I think that with AI devices and wearables and computer vision, other stuff, we can really look at the bottom of the pyramid and start like make the right assumptions and stop guessing and say, well, this is what the data is saying, but not just blindly on the data. We can take this plus our years of experience that we have under the belt, and use both to say, well, this is what my gut is telling me, and plus I have confirmed this with the database I have, and now I will do this, and I will call attention of the operations team about just a particular hazard or a particular let's say unsafe spot in the work site. That's great. And so still talking about data, there are concerns about data as well. So you're talking about a device that is connected directly to the operative body, like the wrist, and it brings me concerns about data privacy. How do you address those concerns, and how do you provide reassurance to the workers so there's no pushbacks, they get more buy-in from the operations team? Because everything that we're talking right now, it's amazing, but if the guys and girls on site, if they do not buy in, it's useless, right? So how do you reassure the team on site?
I love this question. You have lined me up perfectly here. So this is one of Spacebands' key differentiators in this health and safety technology space, is that privacy is genuinely at the forefront of what we do, largely because of that inception story that I mentioned, that we had built the product based on the feedback from customers of our prior product. So Spacebands is built with a system that operates completely offline, with a system that operates without capturing any biometrics or personal data. So what I mean by this is we don't capture the end user's age, gender, we don't capture the end user's heart rate, their body temperature, any personal factors that would be intrusive for the individual. Some technology providers capture this data. So, but importantly, we don't capture the location of the individual. So with this, product adoption for us is very, very high because the end user knows that the device is only serving the utility of keeping them safe. So when people wear our device, they genuinely wear it. Like, we track the adoption of the products. And for that, on that note, actually, as a health and safety manager purchasing our product, we let you know if device usage is dropping or increasing. So we let you know if people are actually wearing the devices. Our device usage is always above 90%. There are very few technology providers that can say this, primarily because we don't collect that biometric data, and we don't capture location. And because our hazards are centered around exposure over time, loud noise and hand-on vibration, the end user understands that they are at risk. With some hazards, it's hard sometimes culturally for a health and safety managerial team to get the buy-in from the foot workers, the laborers, the factory workers. But with hearing loss and with white finger, if you're an experienced tool user, you understand the risk because you've seen coworkers have problems with these hazards. So therefore, a product like Spacebands gets strong adoption and gets good, reliable usage. And we have countless resources that we can share when onboarding customers, with FAQs that are asked, posters that can be stuck up to explain what the technology is, so that it's not perceived as this big brother device that's overstepping that mark for privacy, but instead it's just this device that only beeps and vibrates when it gets dangerous. We don't capture like anything else whatsoever. We don't let the end user sync their phone to it or send messages, or there's no like touchscreen on the device. It literally is there to beep and vibrate when it gets dangerous, or when any AV is met or any ELV is met. Sorry, Lucas, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. I said that it's exactly the type of reassurance that we need to give to the workers on site so they confidently use the device. And I would like to pause here and say that we have a lot of people on LinkedIn right now watching us. So if you want to ask any question, please feel free to drop your question in the comments of the webinar event. And we are going to go, at the end of the talk and ask some questions to Ronan and myself. And if you're not yet connected on LinkedIn, let's get connected, because we need to bring this community of safety leaders who have a different approach to safety, closer, so we keep the momentum and we still work together to address those issues. And as I said, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel on YouTube, please take a few minutes just to scan the QR code, hit the subscribe button, because it means a lot for us. And thank you very much. Right, so thanks for addressing this question, Ronan. And now I would like to talk about the other elephant in the room, which is how to balance the real-time alerts that your device generates with operations happening on a busy site, so you don't overwhelm the workers, you don't overwhelm the safety manager or the operations team.
Yeah, so if we start with physical form operations, in that how does the system work? So how do our customers tend to use it? Is that generally Spacebands are put in the plant room on a construction site. So when you go and pick up your PPE or you go and sign in at the beginning of the day, Spacebands are left there on the side.
Okay.
So the Spacebands are always left on site. This is, in fact, 100% of our customers leave Spacebands on site. I was trying to think of some use cases where they don't, but 100% of our customers leave Spacebands on site. Some businesses take Spacebands out in the vans with them if they're on contract sites for construction, but generally the charging station will always end up back at the site. So operationally, it's very simple. You pick up the device at the beginning of the day and you go about your day in that manner. As for explaining operationally to the end user what they've got to do with the device, there really is no interaction needed from the end user. They pick up the device from the charging station, they turn it on, and it is ready to go instantaneously. When the devices go on charge, they learn the latest settings and they upload the data for the day. So that means because the devices were on charge yesterday, they've learned any customized settings that were made during the day, so that everyone is on the same settings and everyone's device IDs have been attributed to individual users. So there's no setup or no need to check if people have meddled with settings, because there physically is in a way. It's just the authority figure or the person who has dashboard access who can customize those settings and check the data for the day.
Okay.
Then in terms of operationally what to do with the data, as for the health and safety manager operational team, we automate reports for you pretty much all the time. So what I mean by pretty much all the time is that when hazards have been captured, they immediately appear on your dashboard when the devices go on charge. When ELVs and EAVs have been prompted, they appear on the dashboard and also appear in emails. So I said pretty much all of the time, because some customers have unique ways that they like to file their reporting to leadership teams, in that they track their reporting over a 3-month period or over a month period or over a 2-week period. So there's some manual input required for inevitably the unique reporting requirements of independent customers. But we give you all the core data, and then we handhold your way through and deliver reports on a regular basis, giving you an overview of your performance over time. So you can capture whether or not events are going up or down over time, whether or not you should be focusing on hand-on vibration, whether or not you should be focusing on unauthorized access warnings, whether or not you should be focusing on loud noise. And you can check these trends at different times of the day. So maybe you have a particular issue with loud noise in the mornings, but less so in the afternoons. And this is because you're using too many tools in a small environment. So you can look at that data uniquely to change operationally in the physical world. But the system is really very intuitive. We don't need to come on site to set you up. We just ship devices to you and you're ready to go immediately. We do a quick onboarding call just to help handhold your way through the dashboard. But other than that, there really is no operational impact. It's seamless. It acts as effectively just a piece of PPE. It just happens to be a piece of PPE that has a battery inside of it.
That's really cool, very interesting. And the final question around still the tech is about AI. So you mentioned about the dashboards, you mentioned about predictive analytics a few times. Are you currently exploring AI in any way to boost your product's capabilities? And if so, can you please explain how it is achieved?
Sure. another great question. So currently within the product, we don't have AI running. And we've done this because the technology is a very, very simple form. We're just capturing data, beeping and vibrating, and that data is appearing on the dashboard. Now, in time, we will look to add AI to the product. We will look to add AI in some kind of a coaching manner. So what I mean by that, we'll use the historic data to share resources and tools and mechanisms within the product to improve a health and safety manager's performance and their efficacy and efficiency. But within the product as it currently exists, we're not utilizing AI. And that's not because we're kind of lagging behind the trend in technology. It's instead just to keep things as simple as we possibly can for health and safety managers, because it's very easy as a technologist to get caught up in the new trends and try to make things as intense as possible and follow that wave. But we've got to remember that health and safety technologies is largely a sector that has been ignored by health and safety in particular is largely a sector that has been ignored by technology for a long time. Yeah. So using tools like AI is inevitably quite scary for a health and safety manager. And it's hard to almost discuss that because lots of health and safety managers, they don't want to go and say, hey, I don't want to use this because I'm a bit scared of it. But it's the reality.
Yeah, and also, Ronan, if there is no real use case for AI, you shouldn't use AI whatsoever. So people often ask me, Lucas, I am exploring LLMs, ChatGPT or whatever, and I need to use its AI so I can demonstrate to whoever that I am following the wave. And I ask, what is the problem you want to address? What is the type of data you are collecting? Let's talk about data readiness for you to deploy any AI tool. And sometimes they don't have an answer for that. So if you're watching this and if you're still concerned about whether you should use AI or not, my opinion is that you should explore AI tools, especially the trends, but not be obsessive about specific devices. And only start using AI if you have a real problem that is solved by AI. So the example you just mentioned, Ronan, that at the moment your product works 100%. It meets your customer needs without touching AI. You are open-minded about using AI in the future, but for now, it's okay not to use AI. So if you're a safety leader, my opinion is that you should be upskilling. You should be getting the right training. You should be learning about not only AI, because in SafetyTech, AI is just one thing. There are many other tools and things you should be learning about, but do not get obsessive about AI. What do you think about this, Ronan?
Yeah, you've really hit the nail on the head there with what you've just said, in that it's important to keep an eye on what these trends are, because inevitably otherwise you'll fall behind your cohort of health and safety managers. But you should only really use anything if you can find a true utility for it. With Spacebands, we don't try and sell the product to businesses that don't have issues with hand-on vibration, that don't have issues with loud noise, that don't have issues with certain proximity events, because it doesn't serve utility. The same rule can be applied to AI. If you don't have a use case for it, you don't need it. AI can help us to work quicker, can help us to work with more research, in that it can pull everything together very quickly and filter through information quicker than we can manually as humans.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you should be using it just for the sake of ticking a box, which is
I totally agree. I totally agree. And talking about the profile of the safety leader in the digital age, I would like just to take a very brief pause and talk about something that I'm developing for months, which is the first global Safety 4.0 Leading Safety in the Digital Age training for safety leaders. And if you want to really upskill and get to learn not only about AI and also other relevant tools and frameworks that you can apply, very quickly, and stay ahead and stay relevant and impactful in our profession, I invite you to scan this QR code to get more details about this training. So when we launch, you are the first to know about it. And now I would like to talk about the real impact on site. So based on the number of times you have launched Spacebands on construction sites, manufacturing sites, what is the real results? What are the benefits? And what has been the feedback so far? Not only by those like in senior leadership levels, but especially by those who are wearing the device. Are they having like a good experience with your products? You're going to say yes because you are the CEO, but let's like try to be very like transparent here without any bias. So give us like what you're hearing on the work sites, Ronan.
Another great question. So when we started building this technology, we thought that we were just building a device. I will answer the question, I promise, but I'll get there. We thought that we were just building a device that would lower the number of hazardous events that were happening in a workplace. But through selling this device and inevitably getting usage of this device, we've actually found out that we're selling something completely different in that we're selling protection against regulatory investigation. We're offering up protection for fines, for claims, for doctors' investigations of events and the time period in which certain injuries are going to really kind of skyrocket. And we didn't understand that really until we started getting product usage. So we've seen Spacebands now in countless occasions being used in doctor surgeries. So a HABS investigation will take place. And historically, that individual would have to go to the doctor's surgery and say, I'm using a drill at work. I don't really understand the risks. Here's some historic reports, but we can't be sure they're completely accurate. What's the deal here, doctor? Have I got a big issue? Can I continue working? Should I stop right now? So they're basically blind without using our technology. Instead, that individual can now go into the doctor's surgery and say, this is the risk that I have been undertaking for the last few months. Based on this and your diagnosis of my condition, do you think I should continue working? So it changes the conversation immediately. And the same rule applies in litigation, in courts of law. Technology and data can be used both as a line of defense and as a line of offense, like in the technology represents a true picture of what's been going on. So this protects everyone involved. It helps the employer to create a safer environment, which means that staff retention is higher. It means that education is actually listened to and training is cared for at all levels. But for the employee, the person wearing the device, they get immediately they get a better workplace to work in. They have lower risks. They have a better understanding of what they're actually doing day in, day out. So when they go to say that to their boss, hey, my ear's ringing, the boss will always take that seriously because they can see that the data is truly saying, yes, they've been at 85 decibels for the last 4 hours. Something needs to change.
That's really good to hear about that. You clearly presented the benefits for the employer and also the employee. We are getting really good questions on LinkedIn. I was just reading a few of them, and I hope that we will find time to go through some of the questions. But I promise that Ronan will be replying the questions himself after the webinar. He's currently in Cyprus, enjoying the beach, but he will take a few moments to do so. And Ronan, when you talk about the misconceptions about wearables, what do you hear the most? Is it like the cost of your device or any device? Is it complexity to get it like a really implemented, or is it like a data privacy? What are the misconceptions, and how do you think those are addressed?
Yeah, so I mean, we try and make things as simple as we can, but inevitably, there are some technology providers that complicate things and have lots of hidden costs and set up nuances that cause complications in an initial consultation, let's say. So with Spacebands, we're very straightforward. We tell you how it is. You pay £30 per device with no other hidden fees. You have no dashboard fees, no mobile app fees, no setup fees, no hidden costs. You are just paying £30 a month per device. So £1 per day per device. For setup, we don't need to come and visit you. We just ship devices to you if you're in the UK on a next day service, if you're in Europe on a 5-day service, in America in a 7-day service, so that you're ready to go immediately. You just have to turn your devices on and they're set up. We do an onboarding call with you, generally for half an hour, just to walk you through how the dashboard looks and answer any specific questions that you have. But really, the device is so easy that we actually don't even need to do this onboarding call in a way, because you do just turn it on and it offers you immediate protection. We offer up a demo on our website. Or past this, if you just want to explore whether or not you have a risk to certain hazards, we have a hand-on vibration calculator where you can tap in the tools that you're using and the time that generally team members are using those tools for. And we give you a true representation of whether or not you have risk to that hazard, and therefore whether or not you have a benefit to using our technology or not. Because as I've mentioned before, we only want to have customers that have issues. We're not in the business of selling a product that doesn't work or isn't serving a true utility. We are there to keep people safe. So we want to have customers that are being kept safe. That's kind of.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for clarifying this, because in the past I've worked with a customer, and they were at the time considering, it's a construction company, just to clarify, and they were considering wearables, and they say, well, it looks like it's like very expensive. And you just said that it costs £1 a day. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the boss. It's not expensive. It's straightforward. So there is no reason why you should not be exploring wearables if you have, of course, a real business case for that. So, check the website here for more details. And now, Ronan, it's time that we move away from your products a little bit and talk like in general terms about the future of safety tech. How do you see this space, safety tech in general, evolving the next, let's say, 2 or 3 years?
So the way I see this running is that most of the analytics is going to be performed by technology, by leveraging technology like ours in wearables, but also by using systems like camera-based systems that can see everything from a bird's eye view. So that the inception point of understanding the risk profile of your business is being performed by technology. So there's no wiggle room for human error or lagging reports. Instead, it's all near real-time data that's coming in. And the health and safety managerial role will change to a position of strategy rather than a position of data collection. So a health and safety manager can use their education to be able to say, this is what the data is telling me. Now, how can I perform as effectively as possible with this data to create a safer environment? Which actually is where a health and safety manager should be all along. A health and safety manager is a trained professional, an intelligent professional that has true expertise in their field. So they shouldn't be walking around a site with clipboards, checking manufacturing logs for whether or not a tool has high vibration thresholds, or they shouldn't be looking at regulatory changes from 20 years ago to see the change. Like, technology can do all that work for you so that you can have all the information in front of you, and then from there you can make informed decisions. Sorry, Lucas, I think you're on mute again.
Sorry, I'm just trying to prevent some background noise here. I have family around me. I'm surrounded by family, kids, so I'm trying to just have a good environment for our talk today. And someone is calling me. Not a good time. So thanks for that. And we safety leaders, Ronan, we were not trained at the safety school or in the job to what's coming and what's here. So when it comes to like education and upskilling, what's your advice for us, for safety leaders around the world?
So my advice is really just to have open discourse, to have a community of health and safety managers just like yourself, health and safety consultants. This is why the work that you're doing is so powerful, in that by having that fluid discourse and having that open conversation, you can be dynamic to the change, because inevitably some industries are ahead of others, and maybe construction understands regulation before manufacturing, or maybe sometimes logistics understands it before because there's a big conference and everyone's speaking at it, or there's an influencer in that space who's able to share information ahead of time. So it's all about creating that community for you so that you can really evoke dynamic training rather than just waiting for a regulation to change and then reading a report and then trying to understand that yourself and not fully getting there 100%. Yeah. Instead, my opinion is that great things always come from these conversations. So I would say, first and foremost, find yourself a community of safety professionals that you can speak to. And then secondly, internally, I would say start creating a culture where it's okay to make mistakes. As a health and safety team, you're often kind of assumed to know everything and anything there is about health and safety, but we're human. So especially if you're not leveraging technology to fill in those blind spots, start making it okay within your team of health and safety professionals. If you get something wrong, admit to it. Ask yourself how you can improve on that in the future, rather than just trying to pass blame or trying to hide behind your errors. By having an open conversation about it, you can prevent those errors from happening in the future.
Amazing, amazing advice, and thanks for that, Ronan. So again, we were not trained at the safety school, and in most places, we are still using spreadsheets, pen, paper, a clipboard, and a camera that is sometimes not even a digital camera as our toolkit. So if you want to stay relevant in the digital age, you have to upskill, you have to learn about it, and you have to know how to build your toolkit so you can be more impactful in your workplace in the digital age. That's why I am creating this course that I will launch in Q3, which is all about empowering safety leaders to understand what Safety 4.0 is, and not get lost in the latest buzzwords and trends that you do not even understand about. This course is very unique. It's going to be approved by IOSH. You can get CPD as well. So if you're interested about this course that is coming, please scan the QR code and drop your interest about it. We are approaching the end of the talk. But before doing so, I would just like to have a quick fire round with you, Ronan. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, of course.
So tell me just the first thing that comes to your head here. So the future of safety is
Data.
Data. Okay.
Informed decisions with data.
Okay, good. As a safety leader, you should
create open and honest conversations within your team and your wider company.
Okay. And the real impacts of wearables are?
To prevent injuries, accidents, fines, false liability claims, and liability claims.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You did really well. So let's have just a few questions here on the screen, Ronan. I hope you can answer them. So the first one comes from Mark, and Mark says, "I work for Kier Construction. Have we introduced this yet? If not, can trials be arranged?"
Hi, Mark. Yes, of course, trials can be arranged. So we are already working with Kier Construction. We are currently on 3 sites within Kier. We run paid pilots. It is a 3-month period of product usage as a minimum, but we can get you set up next day. So if you drop me a message, Mark, either on LinkedIn or at ronan@spacebands.com, we can get you set up on a demo call so you can see the dashboard, and then we can ship devices to you on a next day service so you're ready to go next week.
Okay, awesome. So this one game comes from Gareth. He says, "Can your device be preloaded with tool-specific vibration magnitudes to give a more accurate indication of exposure?"
Good question, Gareth. So we capture hand-on vibration threshold. We capture hand-on vibration data at several exposure thresholds and magnitudes. So we don't require manual tool tagging or tool-specific vibration magnitudes. Instead, we give you the actual magnitude of that event. So this is different to, as you've listed here, a company like ReactTech, who require manual input from the end user to let the technology know which tool is being used, which inevitably the end user forgets to do because they don't want to go and tap in which tool they're using, or the tool tag will fall off of a piece of machinery and you won't realize. So inevitably then you have data that's not truly accurate. With technology like Spacebands, we automate that process for you altogether. And on a demo with you, Gareth, I can walk you through exactly how that works at a technical level. I don't want to go into any more details if I'm aware this is a public call. But yeah, we can do that in a private room by all means, and I can show you exactly how we capture that data to give you truly authentic data that serves a benefit rather than data that is left behind by using tool-specific vibration magnitudes.
Okay, let's go one more. So this one comes from Daniel, and Daniel says, how does the device capture vibration, and how is it calibrated to record real exposure, or is it just estimated based on manufacturer guidelines?
No, not at all. So it's not estimates. So how can I do this without giving you any trade secrets? So we track the meters per second squared at several severity thresholds. So the component within our device will tell us when a meters per second squared is met. So that could be 2, could be 5, could be 10. So we know exactly how many meters have happened at any given time, so that we don't require that calibration from the tool, because the manufacturing guideline may tell us that the tool is 5, but reality is that tool is not 5. That tool is actually giving us a 4.2 because the tool has been in service for the last 2 years, or the end user is holding it in a particular way, or they're swapping hands. We give you a true representation of what's actually happening in that moment. Therefore, we don't require that calibration.
Okay, and this one comes from Mark. I would love to see dust monitoring in this product, as that would cover my 3 biggest occupational health activities.
All I will say is that is music to my ears, but I won't say anything more than that. But Mark, please get in touch and I can share more on what I've just said on a private call.
Okay, amazing. Well, very quickly, Ronan, can you please talk about this calculator that we have on the screen? What we can achieve with this calculator, and why we should be using it on your website right now after this podcast episode.
Yeah, of course. So this hand-on vibration calculator can help you to understand the risk within your workplace. So I mentioned previously that we want customers that we can truly lower the risk for. So we want customers who actually have exposure to the hazards that we're offering protection against. This hand-on vibration calculator can help you to understand the exposure of particular tools and the time period in which individuals should use those tools. Now, if you're using our product, you don't actually need to use this hand-on vibration calculator to use the product. It just gives you an estimate ahead of time of using technology, because we automate this process for you by using technology, so that you no longer have to manually input the time that a tool is being used for, what the exposure limitations of that tool are. Instead, the wearable does it all for you. But this is a great tool so that you can understand exactly where you sit, rather than making guesswork based on manufacturing guidance, which inevitably isn't true for the reason that I mentioned before, because the tools change over time, but also because a manufacturer has an interest in saying that their tool is at a lower threshold than it is most of the time. So in that, it's hard to say if the testing has always been done in the most accurate manner, but that's a whole other topic and rabbit hole that we've got down another time.
Okay, fantastic. One final thing I'd like to ask for people watching us right now. I would love to have your feedback about the podcast. Are you enjoying this type of conversation? What do you want to hear more about? Is it AI? Is it wearables? Is it computer vision? Is it about how to get upskilled? I'd love to hear your feedback so I can tailor this show to your particular needs. And if you are not yet connected on LinkedIn, please, let's get connected. Let's work with each other and promote SafetyTech and Safety 4.0, because that's exactly what's happening right now. If you want to get to know more about my work, my company, you get right now to this other link here, getshield360.com. We are a strategic partner for safety digital transformation. We can help your company to move from A to B without any buzzwords or anything that it doesn't make any sense for your type of business and for your company needs. I would love to work with you. And anyway, drop your comments about your feedback, and I will be working to make it better for you. Right. So, Ronan, would you like to have your final considerations about today's talk?
Yeah, I mean, I think today's conversation has been a great one. It's not just been an advertisement for Spacebands. We are generally in an era where technology is slowly but surely taking over every industry that we're within. So it's critical to stay informed about the changes that are happening and to have a broad spectrum of knowledge so that you can make informed decisions. And whether you use Spacebands for that or whether you use other utilities, education comes at the forefront of all of this. So, I mean, the work you're doing, Lucas, is genuinely extremely powerful. People should speak with you because you come from a place of non-bias. You can truly tell individuals about the trends that are happening without the need to sell them a product like Spacebands. Like, my purpose of this call is not primarily, it's not to sell Spacebands and only sell Spacebands, but inevitably it is a factor. However, you are a technology expert. So I can only advise people to speak with you and go from there. And I mean, you're a fan of what we're doing, so clearly you're doing something right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I forgot to say just a few words about myself, guys. I started 15 years ago in construction, then moved to oil and gas for over 10 years. And then I moved into the startup world. I worked for two tech startups in London that became unicorns. So I have delivered projects that leverage the impact of safety tech in the real world. It's not just talks. And in this show, I will always bring people that wants to share what's working and also what's not working, what you shouldn't do. And I think that's exactly what we should be doing as a community. So having said that, we are about to just hit the 1 hour talk. Usually it's around 45 minutes. So I will take like this as an indication that the talk was very productive, Ronan. Thank you very much for taking a short break in your holidays in Cyprus to be with us. I really appreciate that. And, if you want to, give me a recommendation about who I should be speaking next, drop a comment as well, and let's make it happen. So without anything else, thank you very much for your time today. And let's keep in touch. All the best. Stay safe and stay ahead. Bye-bye.